I have the good fortune to be talking to you from the home of the late Professor John Fleming, the Chaucer scholar in Princeton University, New Jersey, where my good friend Tim is house sitting and getting the place in order, and very kindly invited me out for a little respite from urban summer chaos. So here I am, and it's like a little museum in here, as you can see, books on every side, up and down, and behind me, a rather elaborate printing press setup. Someday perhaps I will have the occasion to find out if there's a connection between Professor Fleming's Chaucerian studies and interest in the practice of printing. Not because there has to be, only because, if it were me, there would be. I asked Tim if there's anything that Tim would like me to try recording while we're here, and Tim said, Shelley. And I said, great, I'd really like to understand Shelley better. And then corrected myself because really I meant appreciate Shelley better. Wallace Stevens, I don't understand. Shelley, it's less a comprehension thing and more just a, this guy is so famous, why do I like at least some of Keats at first pass, at second pass so much more, when I know there is so much here? And so because every book is two-hand in the Western canon in this house, Tim looked at just turned to the shelf next to him and was like, okay, here's some Shelley. And I said, okay, let's see what I can find. I happened across this. Feelings of a Republican on the Fall of Bonaparte. Published with Alastor, 1816. I hated thee, fallen tyrant. I did groan to think that a most unambitious slave, like thou, couldst dance and revel on the grave of liberty. Thou mightst have built thy throne where it had stood even now. Thou didst prefer a frail and bloody pomp, which time has swept in fragments towards oblivion. Massacre, for this I prayed, would on thy sleep have crept, treason and slavery, rapine, fear and lust, and stifled thee their minister. I know, too late, since thou and France are in the dust, that virtue owns a more eternal foe than force or fraud. Old custom, legal crime, and bloody faith, the foulest birth of time. Yeah. What he said. The next poem from Shelley that I've chosen is called Lift Not the Painted Veil. I chose it because George Eliot's novella, The Lifted Veil, seems to be a reference to it, and I am reading that right now. This is published 1824. Lift not the painted veil, which those who live call life, though unreal shapes be pictured there, and it but mimic all we would believe, with colors idly spread. Behind lurk fear and hope, twin destinies, who ever weave their shadows o'er the chasm, sightless and drear. I knew one who had lifted it. He sought, for his lost heart was tender, things to love, but found them not, alas. Nor was there aught the world contains, the which he could approve. Through the unheeding many he did move, a splendor among shadows, a bright blot upon this gloomy scene, a spirit that strove for truth, and like the preacher found it not. It's heavily enjambed, which is amazing. I'm going to read it again And I'm going to try to bring out the rather neat-ish iambic pentameter of some alternating kind. Let's see how I do a second time. Lift not the painted veil, which those who live call life, though unreal shapes be pictured there, and it but mimic all we would believe, with colors idly spread. Behind lurk fear and hope, twin destinies who ever weave their shadows o'er the chasm, sightless and drear. I knew one who had lifted it. He sought, for his lost heart was tender, things to love, but found them not, alas, nor was there aught the world contains the which he could approve. Through the unheeding many he did move, a splendor among shadows, a bright blot upon this gloomy scene, a spirit that strove for truth, and like the preacher, found it not. Through the unheeding many he did move, a splendor among shadows, a bright blot upon this gloomy scene, a spirit that strove for truth, and like the preacher found it not. I want to be able to hear the rhyme between blot and found it not, the way that I read it. And it took me a couple tries. I liked that, though. That last time felt closer to it. And now to a Skylark, 1820. Hail to thee, blithe spirit, bird thou never wert, that from heaven or near it pourest thy full heart in profuse strains of unpremeditated art. Higher still and higher from the earth thou springest like a cloud of fire. The blue deep thou wingest, and singing still dost soar, and soaring ever singest. In the golden lightning of the sunken sun, o'er which clouds are brightening, thou dost float and run, like an unbodied joy whose race is just begun. The pale purple even melts around thy flight, like a star of heaven. In the broad daylight thou art unseen, but yet I hear thy shrill delight, keen as are the arrows of that silver sphere, whose intense lamp narrows in the white dawn clear, until we hardly see, we feel that it is there. All the earth and air with thy voice is loud, as when the night is bare from one lonely cloud, the moon rains out her beams, and heaven is overflowed. What thou art we know not. What is most like thee? From rainbow clouds there flow not drops so bright to see, as from thy presence showers a rain of melody. Like a poet hidden in the light of thought, singing hymns unbidden till the world is wrought to sympathy with hopes and fears it heeded not. Like a high-born maiden in a palace tower, soothing her love-laden soul in secret hour with music sweet as love, which overflows her bower. Like a glowworm, golden in a dell of dew, scattering unbeholden its aerial hue among the flowers and grass, which screen it from the view. Like a rose embowered in its own green leaves, by warm winds deflowered to the scent it gives, makes faint with too much sweet those heavy-winged thieves. Sound of vernal showers on the twinkling grass, rain-awakened flowers, all that ever was joyous and clear and fresh, thy music doth surpass. Teach us, sprite or bird, what sweet thoughts are thine? I have never heard praise of love or wine that panted forth a flood of rapture so divine. Chorus hymeneal or triumphal chant, matched with thine, would be all but an empty vaunt. a thing wherein we feel there is some hidden want. What objects are the fountain of thy happy strain? What fields or waves or mountains? What shapes of sky or plain? What love of thine own kind? What ignorance of pain? With thy clear, keen joyance, languor cannot be. Shadow of annoyance never came near thee. Thou lovest, but never knew love's sad satiety. Waking or asleep, thou of death must deem things more true and deep than we mortals dream. Or how could thy notes flow in such a crystal stream? We look before and after, and pine for what is not. Our sincerest laughter with some pain is fraught. Our sweetest songs are those that tell of saddest thought. Yet if we could scorn, hate, and pride and fear, if we were things born not to shed a tear, I know not how thy joy we ever should come near. Better than all measures of delightful sound, better than all treasures that in books are found, thy skill to poet were, thou scorner of the ground. Teach me half the gladness that thy brain must know. Such harmonious madness from my lips would flow, the world should listen then, as I am listening now.